recently on the Wayspotters podcast, you heard my dad say,
everybody wants to be a do-gooder and everybody wants to do the right thing. And through those ands, we give a lot of really conflicting information on the forums, especially when it comes to something local that people don't understand. Hello, agents, trainers, pilots, eighth wallers, and our beloved explorers and wayfinders. Welcome to episode number 143 of the Wayspotters podcast. Here at Wayspotters, we want to do everything to help you become a better wayfinder. As we've always said, we want to educate, entertain, and excite. Wayspotters is brought to you by the good people at the Pokémon Professor Network. Today is Friday, October 11th. I'm Jamal, and I'm here with Chris. What's up, man?
Not much, buddy. How you doing?
Good. For somebody who talks for a living, I'm having some struggles today. So
we'll be all right. We'll be all right.
Yeah, we'll be all right. All right. So, hey, before we get started with the silliness of the show, I want to get serious for just a hot second. So we want to send our love and support to all the people in Western North Carolina and Central Florida. As you guys know, I live in North Carolina, and I know a lot of families that are struggling right now. So if you are inclined to help out people who've been affected by the hurricanes, the one specifically, Helene, this is how you do it. To all the people affected by Hurricane Helene, you can text the word Helene, Helene, to 90999 to donate to the American Red Cross. You can also donate to the Red Cross by visiting their website or calling 1-800-RED-CROSS. That's 1-800-733-2767. So I just kind of felt that was important and timely to mention. And thank you for letting me get that out there.
No, yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And I got a bunch of family that lives in Florida and kind of that area. So it's important that we get them the help that they need. I saw yesterday that Ontario had sent down a bunch of hydro trucks to Florida to help them get their power back up. So
nice. That's awesome. Yeah. I love people helping people. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's get on to the news.
And now, the latest Niantic news from the Wayspotters podcast, presented by the Pokémon Professor Network.
Couple things this week. I haven't been posting to YouTube. We haven't been posting to YouTube for a little bit now, and I apologize. I had some computer issues. I just got it back yesterday. Some life kind of got in the way with all the kids and stuff. But cat just knocked over a box. We'll be back this week and every week going forward. So pay attention to the YouTube, and I apologize for not posting as much lately.
It's all good. You know, Ken always says we're part-time creators with full-time ideas, so it happens. So no worries. It's all good. Yeah. That's why we have two different mediums. We've got audio and video. So if you can't find us on one, you can find us on the other. So we're all good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to give you a big shout out. We haven't missed a single week since this show started, and you are just like a machine when it comes to editing and getting that stuff out on time. And it's inspirational for a lot of us, and we really appreciate it. So you're doing awesome.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. So that's one of our claim to fame, along with the Incense podcast. So the Incense podcast has never missed a Sunday. Consequently, we both drop our episodes on Sunday. So if you want to be consistent, just pick a Sunday and go. So this is 143 episodes in a row. And the funny thing about that, Chris, is you and I both know we've got kids. We've gone through sicknesses and injuries and all this stuff. So we're here because we got to get people their Wayfarer information. So
absolutely. Speaking of Wayfarer information, the Scaniverse people are having another sweepstakes contest.
I saw that.
3 $500 prizes. I heard that correctly. 3 $500 prizes for sharing splats on the threads in the Scaniverse forums. Number 1, spooky scenes. So anything Halloween, changing leaves, all trees qualify. But if you've got stuff that's kind of changing color, that would be awesome. And public cozy places. And it says in brackets, whatever cozy means to you. So unlimited entries, random drawings. The rules and conditions will be in the forums. We'll share a link. But I wanted to throw that out there for our folks, for our friends at the Scaniverse people. So
I've got a couple of cozy places around town, public plazas, places where there's a statue and places to sit. For a lot of people out there, think about your memorial benches. This would be a great chance to go scan those memorial benches that some of you guys hate so much. I'm going to do it. So 500 bones, man. Come on. Let's go. Let's go.
Right. We're shout out to my Canadian listeners, our Canadian listeners. Happy Thanksgiving. It is Thanksgiving weekend.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving to our friends in Canada.
I'm heading up to my parents' place this weekend, and it's in the middle of a forest. So I'm going to be scandiversing myself some trees this weekend.
Nice. Yeah, you're the lucky one. You get 2 different Thanksgivings. Now, remind me again. I remember we talked about this last year. Are the menus similar, the same, different?
It's pretty similar. We've been doing. My wife's been making Thanksgiving dinner the last couple of years, so we kind of get an Americanized version, but it's pretty similar: turkey, mashed potatoes, stuffing, carrots, deviled eggs, that sort of thing.
Is there anything that's specifically different for Canadian Thanksgiving that I wouldn't know?
Not really, I don't think. We put maple on more things than you guys probably do.
Yeah.
But other than that, no.
Which I support. I support that.
We do turkey for Canadian Thanksgiving because we usually do it with my parents. And then we do ham for American Thanksgiving because we don't want to do 2 turkey dinners. So
right. And you can't go wrong either way. Ham or turkey, you can't go wrong. Either way, you can't go wrong. So
absolutely.
Right on. All right, let's jump into the show. Here we go.
This is Sarah Amanda. Get ready for topic number 1.
All right. So topic number 1. I've titled this, I've got 99 problems, but Chris ain't one. So let me back up a little bit. Let's talk about lore. So most people listening to the podcast will understand what I mean when I say lore, because most of us are video gamers or have done something, or Harry Potter, or Game of Thrones or something. You watch it and people are like, I don't really understand what's going on, because you don't know and understand the lore. So lore means background information about a person, place, or thing. Typically, these are very random or secret pieces of information, but everyone has lore, slightly strange experiences that go on here. So we've got a little lore on the show, and we're kind of developing the lore as it goes on. Season 1 lore was kind of the live animal, things like that. But Chris, this got me thinking, because now, because you've seen the notes, 99 weeks ago. So it was important that you put out there that we've never missed a week for everybody listening, and especially our show historian, Maddie G, who knows all this stuff. But 99 weeks ago was the first time the Wayspotters audience was introduced to Chris, because it was episode number 44. And Chris was a guest on the show. He wasn't the host yet. He was a guest. So Lachlan and I had read this kick-ass article about Wayfarer, and we were like, oh my God, we got to find this guy. So I hunted Chris down like a dog. I hunted him down and found him. So Chris, do you remember that?
I do remember that.
Yeah. Should we flash back and give the people a little bit of what happened on episode 44? What do you think?
Absolutely.
All right, let's do this. Here we go. First of all, tell us who you are and what your connection to Pokemon is, and then tell us your connection to Wayfarer.
Yeah, for sure. First of all, thank you. I'm really glad that you guys like the article. I put a lot into it. My name is Chris. I live in Ontario, Canada. I've been playing Pokemon Go since it launched in 2016, and I tried to level up my Ingress account to join the Wayfarer program way back when, but I couldn't get into it. So when they launched it with Pokemon Go in, I think it was 2019, I jumped all over it and got to work on the SLs and created a whole, I think it was 25 stops around my hometown in 2 or 3 months. So yeah, I've been hooked ever since.
Right on. So that was the first time you graced this podcast with your voice. So that's pretty cool. So did you notice anything different about your voice? Did you sound younger? Did you feel younger? What do you think?
I feel like I was a lot younger. That mic I had back then was terrible. That's all I gotta say about that.
So you remember that. So before we go any further, I have more clips. You ready for clip number 2?
Oh boy.
Here we go.
So Pokemon Go Hub is a website dedicated strictly to Pokemon Go. We do news articles, so any events that are coming, any breaking news, do raid guides, We have a lot of PvP articles. So if you're looking for a good PvP team for whatever cup is coming up, we have all you covered there. All the data mines, that's what I specifically cover usually. We're all over the data mines from the Pokeminers, that sort of stuff. And I've been a writer since 2019 and an editor for the last 2 years now.
Yeah, so that was when you introduced yourself to everybody. You know, and whenever we can give a free plug to PokemonGoHub.net, we like to do it because, you know, we love them and you're partnered with them. You work for them. So that was cool. So that's kind of building the lore. And little did we know in episode 44 that we would start building some lore there. So here comes a little more lore, Chris. Now, you haven't heard this clip. I didn't play this one for you. So,
oh no.
This one here, people, you guys will know. You've seen me fall out of my chair a couple of different times when we've done this podcast. This is where it all started. I didn't realize this, but this is where it all started. So listen to this clip. But also, before you kind of talk about that, I want you to talk about your experience and your research in the reviewing times to get from I submitted it to a reviewer. So if you could talk about those two things in your research real quick.
So that's an interesting one because the time from submission to in voting to approved varies very, very widely depending on kind of where in the world you are. I've been very lucky with the spots that I've lived in since this has been available to me. I've never had a submission sit longer than 3 weeks. Right?
3 weeks?
3 weeks is the longest I've ever had.
All right. Now, you see why I played that. And at the time, you probably had like 15,000 upgrades, which I don't care about anymore. But guys, that's lore. That's lore. So if you listen to the show, you guys will see Chris's experiences have not changed. So I make all those jokes, but brother, I really appreciate you being on this ride with me. At the time you came on the show, had no idea you were going to end up being the co-host, the host, you know, whatever we call ourselves, and this friendship and partnership. Random dude from Canada who wrote a really good article, and now I consider you a friend. We've been to 2 Go Fest together, slept in the same hotel room, slept in the same hotel bed, hung out. You know, we've had a lot in common. So with this flashback episode, I just kind of wanted to say thanks for doing this because I remember the day that I reached out to you and I said, hey, we had some changes on the podcast and, you know, want to know if you want to come on and do a couple of guest spots and, you know, see what happens. And you were like, yeah, let's go. And I'm like, this is cool.
I remember when you had me on as a guest and I said that I hadn't had anything last longer than like 3 weeks. I still remember your face. I said that. It was like, just the complete and utter shock on your face. It was like, oh no, he's gonna kick me off. That's it, I'm done.
I'm like 3 weeks. I was trying to wrap my mind around what a 3 week turnaround would look like because like it was like you put it in. I remember like back in those days thinking, all right, this is going to be funny. I'm going to nominate this at Christmas time and it's going to come through in June and everyone's going to laugh because the picture is out of date and all that. So it's funny. That's really funny. No, but Chris, so when we talk about we want to educate, entertain, and excite, what we really mean is we want to give all of the viewers, all of the listeners, a place where they can talk about, hear about, and hopefully learn about Wayfarer in a way that's not dry, it's not preachy, and it's not judgmental. The nuts and bolts of actual Wayfarer can be really dry and boring. And at times you need something to break it up, like dad jokes or funny segments and bits. So, you know, it's really humbling when we have people tell us that they listen to us on a long drive or they turn us on when they're doing like a home improvement project. It kind of makes us feel like we're there. And especially those who have told us that they've learned something. So it's really cool. And I was trying to time this out. I wanted to do it on the 100th week. But next week is your show and it would be kind of difficult to surprise you on your own show that you wrote. So I did it this time, but, hopefully in the last, 143 weeks, but specifically the last 99 people have really enjoyed what we do. And, this is a little bit of a different episode, but Chris and I both have different styles when it comes to podcasting and when it comes to Wayfarer, but I think the balance is really good because I'm much more of the loosey-goosey, fly by the seat of my pants, work in the gray area. Let's throw it up against the wall and see if it sticks. Let's get the ambassadors to yell at me. And Chris, you're very much more the law and order, I'm going to follow the rules. That's not there. I'm going to remove it. I'm going to wake up that sleeping dog. I'm not going to let it lie. So I think we balance each other out pretty well.
I think you're right. It's been a journey. I've loved every minute of it. We've had to kind of adjust our schedules to get these done and get it out every week, but it's so worth it when you say, hey, someone says, hey, I didn't know that, or thank you, help with this. And the thought of somebody on a road trip and then having my voice come out of their radio to them is bizarre.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's something I don't think I'll ever get used to. When, I'm in a different country, in a different city, hanging out, and people come up to me and be like, hey, thank you for what you do. It's just like, it's mind-boggling to me. And
yeah, for sure.
I really appreciate you kind of taking the risk and reaching out and having me on first as a guest, and then kind of reaching out and saying, hey, I need a new co-host. What do you think? Right.
And it worked out. It was just something that like, I just felt it. The vibe was there. I just felt it. I'm like, we've got a lot in common, even though we've only spoken for like an hour ever. I just kind of felt we had that vibe in common. And we kind of did that test show, and I played it for Ken, and Ken was like, looks like you got a new co-host. I was like, yeah, I think I do.
I remember you reached out and you're like, hey, do you mind joining me as a co-host for one episode? Right. And I was like, yeah, sure, no worries. I'm like, I can do 2, 7, 100 if you want. Right?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, all right, that's cool. And then we did the one, and you're like, okay, yeah, no, we're good.
yeah, we're good. And so to kind of take people behind the curtain. So the odd shows are Jamal shows, the even shows are Chris shows. So I just kind of was like, all right, dude, here's the deal. Like, I'm not writing every show. Like, I'm doing every other show. I'm like, I hope you're okay with that. And I'm like, he's a writer, so he's going to be good. So I sent Chris the template for the show notes. And then like he sent it back, and it was like all cleaned up and edited. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, all right, I took a stab at the show notes, and I'm like, let's go, man. This is awesome. So, but it's one of those things where we could do a like 15-minute podcast just strictly on the nuts and bolts of Wayfarer. And it would be like, it would be good because it would be all news and information. But Wayfarer to me, man, is fun. Like my phone right now, I don't know if you can hear it buzzing, but my phone is blowing up. So I nominated 13 things yesterday. 13. Nice. When I went on a 5-mile walk down the Greenway, and I nominated 13 POIs. And so Emily right now is sending me emails. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9. So 9 of the 13 have come back approved already. Nice. And that's the kind of thing that like I want to inspire. If you're listening to this, whether you like my takes or not, whether you think I'm kind of a jackass or not, which I can be sometimes, I'm self-aware enough to know that like I wrangle the feathers of people who are like super rule followers. But get out there and do it, man. This is fun. Like you are adding to the joy and joy and excitement of a lot of people. So there's people that are going to walk on this Greenway tomorrow after the sync, and they're going to go, oh my God, I can play Pokemon Go on this trail now where I couldn't before. There's going to be spawns out there. There's inevitably going to be a gym that someone's going to do a raid on, you know? So it's just cool that you and I like disagree on some things, not like, but like we've got different ways of seeing it. But at the core, we really super agree that Wayfarer is important and that people need to go out and do it, and they need to do it the right way.
No, absolutely. 100%. And it's enjoyable to me to get out there and kind of help people make their areas better. Right. So we talk about this every week, and we're out there and we're trying to get people to do Wayfarer and to make more Pokéstops and more portals and whatever, right? So that they can get out there and get out into the world and enjoy the games that they play more than they did before, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's and I've said this 100 times and I'll say it 100 more times. It's heartwarming and it's such a great feeling when you go and you create these stops and you create these gyms, and then you go and you see the gym and it's full of Pokemon, right? And then you drive by a gym that's full of Pokemon and someone's battling it so that because they want to take it over, right? I did that. I made that. People are playing the game there because of me, right? And it's not an ego thing. It's a I've helped them. And I don't care if I like my name on my things, right? But I don't care if they know it's me, right?
Right.
It makes me feel so good when I see people having fun in part because of something that I did.
Yes. I had that happen the last remember the little park that I was working on? I sent you some screenshots of the little park. I went back to the park because I was going to take some more pictures, and somebody had turned those 3 POIs I put in there. They were all level 8 in Ingress. And I'm like, wait a minute, who's playing Ingress over here? Like these portals have been live for like 4 days. Somebody made a triangle, and there was enough agents that were there that made it a level 8. So if you guys are Ingress agents, you can't make a portal a level 8 on your own. You can only do 1 level 8 and 1 level 7 on the portal. And there it was full of level 8. So there was like 8 agents, 7 agents, whatever the number works out to be, that had come and made that a farm. And I'm like, I looked at the names. I didn't recognize any of the agents' names. I'm like, where do these people come from? Like they had to, I think they were disc golfers. I think more disc golfers play these games than we think. And nobody had put anything in the gym. The gym was still gray, so they weren't Pokemon Go players. But I went over there, and I was like, "Hey!" And it was my team color. I was like, "Sweet!" So I, hacked it a couple times and did that. But yeah, that's like what you're saying. Like people, like I did that. People are having fun with it. And the coolest thing, man, is when you get a gift in Pokemon Go from a gym that you created from someone who didn't know you created it. Yep. That's like the coolest thing. Yeah. And you're like, yeah. Then I'm like, wait a minute. Oh, that's mine. Oh, yeah. And they sent it to me. Yep. So that's topic number 1, Chris. I just wanted to kind of play that, and just kind of for people who haven't been listening for a long time, who maybe didn't listen to season 1 or came in at the tail end of season 1 or season 2. And, sometimes you listen to a podcast and you're like, I don't know the lore, where these guys come from. So that is the origin of Chris, when Chris first came on the show. So maybe towards the end of the season or beginning of season 4, I'll do another flashback episode about dad jokes, because I know people have asked us continuously, how did the dad jokes start? And that credit goes to the boys from the Roundtable Chatot. So I'd have to go back and listen or talk to Matty G. Matty G will know. He knows everything. But they were the first ones where they were guests on the show, and they were the first time we played the dad jokes. And we did it live, which was wild. We did it live because normally I tape the dad joke second and I edit it and make sure it sounds good, and sometimes retape it again. But we did them live. So I don't remember the episode number, but it was the Roundtable Chatot when they were on as guests. And that was the start of the dad jokes. So we'll do another one later on down the line, and we will revisit the history of dad jokes. So we are rapidly approaching the end of season 3, which is we sure wild. Are. Yeah, I know. We got to start talking about what we want to do for season 4. Yeah. Just crazy. Yeah. All right, let's go on to topic number 2.
Hi, it's Little Pound Cake. Don't forget about topic number 2.
All right. So topic number 2. We got a voicemail from Sarah Amanda, who is like, Sarah Amanda's like royalty. Like, she is well known on every Niantic related podcast, whether it's our show or Lured Up or GoCast. And she's even got her own podcast talking about Monster Hunter. So they we did the Monster Hunter Minute for like 3 shows, and they've turned it into a podcast. So Sarah Amanda send us a voicemail, and let me get it right for her. Sarah Amanda is a podcast host, a Wayfarer ambassador, a Pokemon Go community ambassador, and friend of the show. So I love getting messages from Sarah Amanda. So she kind of spurred me to do this topic number 2 based on a show. So when you guys are watching this at some point in the, is it this corner up here? This corner?
This one.
That one. All right. You're going to get a flashback to episode number 117. But before we get to the flashback, let's play the Sarah Amanda voicemail.
Hey, Wayspotters, it's Sarah Amanda here. So I had 2 quick thoughts from listening to the last episode. One was about how can you tell when a mural is done? At least where I live, artists tend to sign their murals when they're done painting them. So you just look at the wall and you go, is the artist's name on this? No? Well, they're probably not done painting it. I mean, especially if it looks questionable, you know, like there's outlines and stuff still. The next thing is, sure, someone can submit a photo later of the completed mural, but, you know, that's a very Pokemon Go-centric way to look at things. I mean, games like Monster Hunter and Pikmin Bloom, the main photo that appears in that game, for whatever reason, it's the photo that shows up in Pokemon Go. And so, and you know what's really weird and really annoying is if the Wayspot does not show up in Pokemon Go, that means there's no way to change the photo used in these other Niantic games except Ingress, because if you can't thumb the photo in Pokemon Go because it's not Pokemon Go, then you can't change what the photo looks like in the other games. Yes, it's stupid and weird, but maybe you didn't know that, so now you do. So that's why the whole, like, I can just change the photo next week is actually not really the best solution. Although it'd be great if the other games could just have some way of affecting the photos too. Okay, and other thing, my downtown area, you can imagine, like, I've filled it out pretty well, so it's hard to submit things, but so there was this coffee shop that was going to be opened in this space, and it was very exciting and cool, and they were making this mural on the outside, and I was like, oh great, when it's done, I'm going to submit it, because I looked at the map and I was like, if you pin it correctly, it'll be a portal. You pin it on the other side of the wall and it's light ship only. So that's what I was doing. I was waiting every day, walking past this coffee shop mural, waiting for it to get finished. And I knew it wasn't finished because it wasn't signed. And it did look like, you know, it wasn't completely done, but it was fairly done. And then one day I was doing reviews and someone else had submitted this like partially completed mural. And so I was like, what? It's not even done yet. So thankfully, this was in the days when stuff moved slower. So later that week, the mural did actually get finished. So I took a photo and submitted it and upgraded it so I could beat their nomination in. So that's all I have to say on that. And then the other thing, I don't remember if you've actually defined what's a few meters between friends. I think you've kind of just left it to interpretation and imagination. I would think, you know, a margin of error of like 1 to 9 meters, like a single digit. I mean, 9 is kind of a lot. But anyway, a few meters, maybe. Okay, that being said, if you're playing Pokemon Go and you notice, like while you're playing Pokemon Go, that an object is not in the right spot on the map, it's probably off by more than 1 to 9 meters. It's probably off by a lot more. So, just saying. If you notice something's off that much, it should get the location fixed. That's all. Peace, Sarah Amanda.
So Sarah Amanda makes some good points there. What do you think about her points?
I did not know about the picture in Monster Hunter and Pikmin and I did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
It makes sense.
Yeah,
it makes sense. Niantic has shifted to the picture in Pokemon Go is, I'm pretty sure, the default picture in the Wayfarer app, so it makes sense. And I'm pretty sure that the picture in Pokemon Go is the one that shows up in the nearby on the reviews too, right? So
right,
it makes sense. I mean, logically, it makes sense. I had never thought about it, but it makes sense.
I hadn't thought of it either. I hadn't thought about how it would affect other Niantic games. So that's why I love when people call in and say, hey, you guys said this. Have you thought about this? And I'm like, no, I haven't thought about that, but now I have. Thank you. So that's really cool. The one thing that I want to do, I want to welcome Sarah Amanda to the Snake Club. We're happy to have you. She totally snaked that person, and I love it. I heard that. I was like, Sarah Amanda's a snake just like me. I love it.
I absolutely love that. Well done.
Yes.
And it's great to do because I am on the let's wait until it's finished before you take a picture club, right? So I'm glad that she did that.
Yeah. So she's like, wait a minute. And she went out and snaked somebody. So I remember the first time I got snaked and I was like, how did this happen? And then I figured it out. Now I just go snake everybody. So I'm like, ooh, somebody put this through. Let me go and do it. So that's the benefit of having 80 nominations, 40 in Pogo, 40 in Ingress, that I can burn a couple and not hurt. Not like the old days where you had 7 nominations. Ooh. Like the kids these days will never understand the pain of only having 7 nominations. Like you will not understand. You had to like really care. And like if something got denied, it hurt because you only had 7. Like now you can just spray them off. So
back in my day.
Yeah, back in my day when I had to nominate uphill both ways in 10 feet of snow. Actually, you do have 10 feet of snow, so I guess I can't say that.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like it. Yeah.
All right, so the last part of her voicemail. Have I defined what's a few meters between friends? Yes, I have. And a little bit of foreshadowing. We did a whole darn episode on it. It was episode number 117, and it was titled, What's a Few Meters Between Friends? It wasn't that long ago. So I don't expect that everybody is listening to every single second of every single episode, but you can go back and you can listen and you can watch episode number 117. And it's either going to be it's going to be somewhere over here. I don't know where it is, but I'm one of my fingers is pointing in the right way and one's pointing in the wrong way. But before we get to that, let's have another quick little flashback in reference to what's a few meters between friends. So you're going to hear a somewhat familiar voice from season 1, and somebody may be calling me out on the carpet, but you guys will have to listen for yourselves. Here we go.
This is further reminder that if you are nominating, please try and be as true to the real world as possible, because this is going to start impacting other aspects. And if this fails,
hold on.
Niantic fails.
Does that, what about my what's a few meters between friends? How does that factor into this, Lachlan?
Well, what's a few meters between multi-billion-dollar companies, Jamal? And
how much of those multi-billion dollars do I get? How much of those
Jamal, imagine you encounter a Karen, and she's very upset that she took little Timmy to go on their mobile phone, in their Safari mobile app on her iPhone, to play the Candy Crush Real World Simulator. They go to a location. Timmy says, Mummy, we need to go to the playground at blah, blah, blah park. Mummy takes her to the playground, and Timmy is standing at the playground but can't interact with the location. And Mummy said, you said we had to go to the playground. So that Karen writes to that company, and that company severs ties with Niantic. And Niantic probably looks at who put that Waystpot in the wrong place and might put a penalty on their account. So, not saying they will do this, Jamal. I'm not saying they will do this, but you now have to be careful of Karens with your few meters between friends.
You are throwing out some accusations there, sir. I have never put a Wayspot in the wrong place. Now, if there's a playground and let's say there's a merry-go-round, Jamal is not going to put the pin in the center of the merry-go-round. Jamal's going to look at which cell is most advantageous to the player, and it's going to be somewhere on the merry-go-round. It might be on the side, it might be on the end, it might be on the back or the front. However, it will be within a few meters of the
I'm just saying, Jamal, object. You have to be careful who you tell just to have a few meters between friends with, because Karens could result in you losing your Pokemon Go and Wayfarer accounts.
I'm not worried about Karens. Anyway, let's continue with the news. I think you got something to say about Pikmin, right? So that was Lachlan's opinion on the catchphrase, what's a few meters between friends. So that was back from 2002, I believe. So before we go on to playing the clip from episode 117, flashback 2 years ago, then flash forward 2 years. What are your thoughts on Lachlan's take?
I remember him saying that. As soon as you started that clip, I'm like, I remember this speech. I don't remember a lot, like specific parts of the shows from back then, but I remember him saying that, which is kind of funny. I know I'm with him on this one. Like I've said this before, right? You need to be as true to the real world location as you possibly can, because you don't know what Niantic's going to be using this Wayspot for, right? You don't know if they're going to be selling this information to like an archaeological company that wants, or like an art company that wants like to create an app for like outside arts and statues and stuff, right? So if they buy all of this location data and it's wrong, that's going to hurt Niantic's reputation as a company, right? But I will say this: I know that you are not putting things where they don't belong, right? What's a few meters between friends is more about strategic pin placements, like strategic correct pin placements, right? And yes. I'm 100% on board.
Yes.
But it's you got to be important when you say things like, and people have said this to us before, right? When you say what's a few meters between friends, it's not 15, 20 meters. It's like 1 or 2.
Right. Yeah. Amanda said 9 meters. I'm like, 9 meters. That's like 27 feet. That's a long ways away. I'm talking a few meters. A few meters is like 1, 2, or 3, you know, maybe even 1 or 2 meters. So
1 meter is 3.28 feet.
Yes.
For reference.
You know, maybe if I had said the catchphrase was what's a few feet between friends, but I didn't want to alienate the world because only the US uses feet and everybody else uses meters, which is one of the reasons why I said what's a few meters between friends. Because if you're, you know, maybe the UK is a bad example because they do a lot of imperial measurements also. But let's say you're in Japan, you know, and I'm like, what's a few feet? They're like, you mean like your foot where you put your shoe? No, a foot, 12 inches, but a meter. Everybody knows what a meter is. So, you know, what's a few meters between friends? So it's nuanced. It's very nuanced. All right. So let's go to this next clip and let's listen to it. Then let's talk about this. I think you remember this. Flashback. The catchphrase is, what's a few meters between friends? Now, Chris, we've talked about it before. We've talked about it when we've talked about what it means. Now, I feel that your catchphrase is more universally loved and accepted, right? Like everybody loves your catchphrase. Like Chris can do no wrong. It's not that far. Get out of your car. And if you listen to the last episode, the entire royal court said it in unison, and it was beautiful, dude. That was awesome. I hope
it was beautiful.
That it
was beautiful.
I hope because they were really excited. Like we talked about that. Like they were really excited to say your catchphrase. So coincidentally, nobody wanted to say my catchphrase. All right. So that's just kind of a setup for the next one. So that just kind of brings in that everybody loves Chris. So there's that show on TV. Everybody hates Chris. Everybody loves Chris. So I don't think anybody can argue with it's not that far. Get out of your car. I saw a nomination today when I was reviewing, and it was someone I didn't even cut it because I was like, whatever, but someone took a picture of a generic business from the driver's seat of the car through the passenger window with the sun glare and you can see it was just so many things wrong with it. And I'm like, this is cold a week, but at this point I kind of feel like we've done that so many times. And it wasn't overly cold. It was just like, come on, dude. And I'm like, how do I reject this? Okay. I did blurry photo or something along those lines. So, you know, but it was just kind of like, yeah. So, but I say that to say this. So, you know, maybe the catchphrase when people first hear it is a little bit different to understand if they don't know the nuance behind it. So let me play this clip. So moving forward, I always, if you're listening to this, I always make sure the pin is touching the POI. Shall I say it a little louder for the people in the back? When Blame Jamal is nominating, he always makes sure the pin is touching the POI. What's a few meters between friends is all about thinking outside of the box and maximizing your game board with legitimate points of interest. So what does that mean, Chris, and how does that manifest itself? Now, I thought about bringing in some visuals, but I did not want to alienate our listening public. And I think everybody out there is nuanced enough to kind of understand what I'm talking about. And I'll explain it here, and I'll give you your say. Now, I've given this example before. There's a statue in Charlotte. I'm not going to say when because people like to get on the Intel map and go find stuff. But there's a statue in Charlotte that's a pretty big statue, and it's probably, I'd say, 3 meters by 3 meters, right? That's about 9 feet by 9 feet. That's the base of the statue. Now, 70% of this statue is in one particular cell, and it faces that way. But then the other 30% of that statue base is in a different cell. I chose what's a few meters between friends, and I put the pin on the back side of the statue that's in an empty cell. The other cell where the majority of the statue is in is occupied by something else. So that would have been LSO, light ship only. I, however, wanted to interact with the statue. So I chose the very, very back left corner, and I put the pin on that part of it. So it is touching the statue. It is not, Niantic Aaron, if you're listening, it is not off of the statue. It is on the POI. It is legitimately touching it. You can look at it and spin it around and look, it is touching it. Now, is it conventional? Absolutely not. Is it where other people might put the pin? Absolutely not. Right? That's what I mean by what's a few meters. All right. So I hope that clears it up, and you know, maybe it's as clear as mud, but like I said before, this is supposed to be fun. And I think through these power spots that we've talked to death, we've talked it and buried it and dug it up and buried it again. But I think we've kind of seen kind of an example of what's a few meters between friends when it comes to these power spots, because there's certain locations in the world where there's a POI and a power spot, and it's the same thing, but they're in different spots because the person who nominated it had it touching one part of it, and the power spot is like dead center on it. So it just shows that two things can be equal and true at the same time, but be different. Right? Did I say that right?
No, absolutely. Someone shared in the Discord, and I can't find it. I was just looking for it. I can't remember who it was, but they shared that there's a gym or a Pokéstop and a power spot, like literally on top of each other. Like you can't interact with, like it was really like, come on,
right?
So I don't want to go down to the power spot road again. I'll just start ranting for the next
right, because the outrage on that has finally kind of died down a little bit. So I think people have kind of figured out it is what it is, and it is what it is. So but to kind of wrap up topic number 2, hopefully that clears it up. So Sarah Amanda, thank you for sending in that voicemail, and thank you for sending in the voicemail as timely as you did, because I was writing the show when I got your voicemail, and I kind of crumbled up what I was writing and threw it away, and I had this idea for the Flashback show anyway, and I said I'm going to make the whole show a Flashback show. So Sarah Amanda, thank you for helping me program the show without even knowing what you were doing. I appreciate it. And I hope you guys enjoyed that, you know, a little trip down memory lane. And I'm a pack rat. I have every single clip of every single show in my computer, especially now that I have the new computer. I can get it easily. We may do something like this next week for one of Chris's topics. We may have something reoccurring playing over and over. You guys will see. But I wanted to do something a little fun. I know it's been a month for Wayfarer. There's just been issues and things on the forums, and I didn't want to focus on anything negative, and I didn't want to get too deep into anything, because I really want people, as we get it into the Q4, the holiday season, whatever you celebrate, you know, I don't care. Congratulations, happy, sad, whatever. I just want people to go out and have fun. I just want people to go out and take advantage of what they have in their disposal. You know, I've got a new greenway in Charlotte, and I nominated 13 things on the greenway because the weather is temperate. It's not super hot. It's not super cold. And I had a lot of fun doing it. So if you're listening to this, go out and find 5 things to nominate and send us a picture of what you nominated. We'll feature it on the show, but, you know, just go out and have some fun, time permitting. You know, not everybody's got a lot of time. I legitimately, Chris, scheduled half a day off from work because I got an email from the Parks Bureau that they put up the new signs, because I have been like, when are you putting up signs? When are you putting up signs? When are you putting up signs? Literally, I've been sending them emails. And also, well, I don't know if I should say this on the podcast. Fine, I'll say it. I had suggested to them places in which they could put signs also. Like, it would be really cool if you could put a sign here. And I sent them a picture of a map. Like, right here would be a really good place, and here's why. And I explained to them that, you know, this is coming out of a corner, and well, it was in its own SL, but anyhow. So yeah, that's beside the point. So, but all 13 of the signs they put in are in their own cells, and they're all going to be live by the time you hear this podcast. All of those will be live, so they'll be in the game. There's going to be new gyms, new portals. I'm looking to see who's going to create another level 8 farm. So very, very good. Very, very happy for that. So just kind of my feel good moment for
absolutely
Wayfarer.
That is a level of wayfaring that we should all aspire to. Having your city install signs. So wow. That's fantastic. That's amazing. I love it.
If I go and put my own sign up as Wayfarer Reviews, right?
Yeah.
If I get the city to do it, if I get the city to do it, then it's all good. So, hey, let's get the city to do it. So I don't have to do it because, there's been times where people have made their own sign and done their own thing. And, it's kind of like, And I don't like getting the paper rolled up and getting my nose slapped or anything like that. So, let's let the city do it. So,
that's awesome.
All right. Let's go to what I am coming to be one of my favorite segments is One's Gotta Go. Here we go.
One's gotta go. One gotta go. One gotta go, y'all. One gotta go. Wait, one gotta go. Yeah, this one gotta go. One's gotta go. One's gotta go. One's gotta go. One gotta go. 4 items to be on the list, but one gotta go.
All right. So one's got to go. This theme, I've been trying to vary these things, Chris. So, you look on the internet and, if you go and you copy these off the internet, it's like food and cartoons and, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make these up. So every week I make up my own theme because I really want to challenge Chris. So this one, I wanted to pick something universal. So I was going to do another Canadian theme, but I'm like, I think these 4 people are pretty universal across the world, or at least North America, I'll say. So the theme for this one is Saturday morning edition. So think of your Saturday morning host. So in the upper left-hand corner, you have Mr. Rogers. In your lower left-hand corner, you have Bill Nye, the science guy. In the upper right-hand corner, you have Paul Rubens, a.k.a. Pee Wee Herman. And in the bottom right-hand corner, you have LeVar Burton of Reading Rainbow. Now, Chris, one's got to go.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's start with Mr. Rogers.
Okay.
I loved Mr. Rogers growing up. I watched every single episode. He's got to stay. It's just the whole show was just fantastic, and I loved it so much. And I think that it's still like I could probably play it for my kids, and I think my kids would love it. Bill Nye is I think the best thing about Bill Nye is he's grown up with us. He's still kind of that advocate for science, trying to teach people science, but now he's doing it more geared towards the adults who were kids when he was doing it before. Like the clip of him swearing, yelling, lighting the globe on fire. It's just, I thought it was fantastic. Every time I see it on TikTok, I watch the whole video and I like it. And I'm just like, this is great. LeVar Burton. I'm a huge Trekkie. Love Star Trek. He's Geordie LaForge, right? And Reading Rainbow was great. Reading is so important. And all of the things that he did with that show inspired kids to read. He's the reason that I read. And like I'm writing a novel. Slowly, I'm writing a novel, but I am writing a novel. And it's just the inspiration for kids was just, it's so like inspiring, right? And I love it so much. And which means that Pee Wee's got to go because, and I love Pee Wee Herman. Okay, I do. I love Pee Wee Herman. The show was hilarious. It was funny. It was goofy. It was silly. But the things that came out about him later on in life were kind of like, weird.
Yeah.
But out of the 3, like if we put all of that aside, I think Pee Wee, for me, Pee Wee's the one that's got to go, right? So sorry to any Pee Wee fans out there, but I think the other 3 kind of they taught you how to do science, how to read, how to be a better person, how to be a better friend, how to love yourself. And Pee was just kind of the silly one. And as much as I love the silly stuff, you know, ask my kids, I'm the silly parent, right? But I think for me, Pee-wee's got to go.
And you know, I agree with you. I agree with you. I didn't realize until I was doing research on this. I forgot he passed away a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. I was like, wow, I forgot he passed away. And that's how I broke it down also on why I think Pee-wee has to go is if you look at all the other three, they were all there to entertain us, but they were all there to educate us through entertainment. So at the time, we didn't realize we were being educated. We just thought we were having fun. We were watching Mr. Rogers. We didn't realize the lesson that he was teaching us and, you know, taking off your shoes and before going, you know, just all these things. And like what you said about Bill Nye, I hadn't made that connection that he didn't stop and focus on one demographic. He kind of followed that demographic as it grew up and kind of taught us more advanced things, you know, as opposed to where Mr. Rogers, like you said, you could turn it on for your kids now. There's a certain age bracket that Mr. Rogers was aiming at. Bill Nye kind of brought us into the world to teach us more things. And LeVar Burton, like aside from Reading Rainbow, he's just done a lot of other things. I mean, Roots, just all kinds of other things. So yeah, Pee-wee's got to go for me. Probably because Pee-wee's the one that was not really trying to teach us anything. And the stuff that he was probably trying to teach us, we probably didn't want to know or shouldn't have known. The funny anecdote about Pee-wee Herman was when he got caught in that adult theater in Tampa, he offered the cops that he would perform for their children and all the children of the cops if they made it go away. He goes, I'll do free shows if you kind of make this go away. So, and the cop didn't do it. But it turns out he had done that before and the cops did it and they made it go away. But this one cop was like, nah. So
I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah. Like I said, I do research on these ones got to go. I don't just pick 4 pictures. I do some research just in case it comes up. So, all right. We're running long, man. I thought this was going to be a quick show, but we're running long. So let's go to break. Let's play the music. We'll play some dad jokes and we will come back on the other side with Wayspot of the Week and Coal of the Week.
Are you serious? This again? It's season 3.
What did the pepperoni say to the cheese? Slice to meet you. What do you call a dog in a submarine? A subwoofer. Matty G keeps asking me why I'm so sweet. He doesn't know. I keep a few Twix up my sleeve. What's the difference between a hippo and a Zippo? One is very heavy and the other, it's a little lighter. I'm driving down the road the other day and I put a blank CD in my CD player and I turned it up on maximum. I look over and the mime on the corner is going nuts. Why do divers always fall out of the boat backwards? Duh, if they fell out forward, they'd still be in the boat. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Wayspotters podcast, episode number 143. You're with Chris, you're with Jamal, and we are going to go over and talk about some Wayspots of the week. So here we go.
This is Sarah Amanda, and here's some Wayspotters approved points of interest.
All right. So Wayspot of the Week number 1 comes to us all the way from jolly old UK and our friend Mark Stanford. You guys don't know this because you would have no way to know this unless I told you. But Mark has sent us enough Wayspots and Coals that we could finish out season 3 and start season 4. So we try not to do the same person over and over and over. But I'm like, you know what? I haven't had Mark in rotation in a while. So I wanted to bring up one that he sent us. So this one is really cool. So the title of it is Polish Monument, Northwick Park. And I'll read the description. Memorial Monument. This monument was placed here to commemorate the Polish ex-servicemen who lived here at the park with their families from 1948 to 1970, deported from Poland to Serbia in 1940. The Polish Army was formed in 1942. They greatly contributed to the Allied victory of World War II. Most civilians were separated from soldiers, but were reunited in Great Britain in 1948. Several Polish camps were in Gloucestershire. So, not only is it a cool mural, but it's a little bit of a history lesson and kind of takes us down memory lane. So, what you're looking at is and I want to give this the reverence it deserves, but I want to kind of describe it. So think of your old school drinking fountains with kind of the hood over it, but that hood is made out of stone and it's in a circle, but it's kind of carved out. So it kind of looks like you're looking into a cave. And then there's monuments kind of laid out on an altar of sorts. And on the front of it, it's all cement on the front. And there's a black plaque with like gray writing and it's too small to see. And then there's a little pedestal where you can step up on the pedestal in order to be able to kind of look over and see it. And I'm assuming that a lot of what Mark put in the description is on that plaque. But this is one that like, it's probably on a roadside, on a countryside somewhere. It's really cool, but the story is great. And it's definitely somewhere where I think Niantic would want people to step off the beaten path and learn about this because it's something that I didn't know, and now I do. Thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing. Anytime that you can get people to look in and learn about the history of kind of what we've done as humans on this planet and the things that we've had to overcome as a species, it's fantastic. And this is a gorgeous, gorgeous little monument here.
Yep.
And it's amazing. And I got family who fought in World War II, so
yep. So have I.
Things like this are important to me.
Can you bring up the supplemental information? Did I put that in the notes? Yeah,
Yep.
Here we go. So the supplemental information is says historical learning of World War II, exploration of the area, a rare memorial backed with great historical ties. The park is free to enter as many independent businesses operate here at the park. I believe this is also a historical house nearby, open to the public too. I've done a lot of street view at the location for you. If you look on Google, it will show up in various photos and numerous articles. Thanks. So he really went above and beyond to kind of explain what it is and gave a really good supplemental picture that you can see it. This is just a really good example of someone who was passionate about a specific point of interest and really went that extra mile to make sure that the reviewers had no clue. Like, you didn't have to think about this, Chris. This is not one of those ones where you're like, I need to go and look, or I need to blow up the photo, or I need to put it in reverse imaging. He did the work for us, so all we've got to do is give it a thumbs up, and I think that's how it should be done.
No, absolutely, yeah, for sure, absolutely. They did a really bang up job with that one.
Yep. All right, so let's go to Wayspot of the Week number 2.
Hey, it's Little Pound Cake. The Wayspotters think you should be nominating more stuff like this.
And let me apologize in advance.
I looked at it while you were finishing off with the last one. That's great. This one's from Pokemon Trainer Jay, and he said when he posted this one, not German, but accepted on appeal today if you need Chris to read another language. So thanks, Jay. Appreciate that.
I love it that people in the Discord are getting involved in our little joke.
I know, it's great. I do appreciate it. I do really like it when people kind of get involved because it shows that they're listening and it shows that they're engaged, right? So, and I'm willing to put myself out there. So this is a painting. I don't even know how to describe this.
I don't know how to describe it either.
So the title is Entrando on the Hebel by César Manrique, and it is Insecto Caliendo fue Panito on 1975. I don't even know how to do numbers in Spanish, so I apologize there. Esta Piñera ahora cuelgo on el área de recepción de los vocos impresive Lanzarote, and it's in the reception probably means reception area. It's probably in the Los Zocos art gallery, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah, I would say that's fair to say.
It's a painting. It's the background kind of looks like a rusted reddish brown, and it's very abstract. It kind of looks like a skeleton horse almost.
I thought that too. Yeah, I thought that too. It's very abstract. It's one of those that like 8 of us could look at it and come up with 8 different things. Like part of me is seeing kind of a note, like an eye and like a nose that slopes down from left to right and a mouth and some teeth. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of looks like Zero the dog from Nightmare Before Christmas a little bit. It's beautiful. I love it. I think it's fantastic. And it's behind like a red velvet rope, so it's definitely somewhere where they don't want people walking up and touching it. So and that tells me that that's the original piece. Then that's not like a reprint that they've got behind a little piece of glass, right? That looks like it's the original. So that's gorgeous. It's beautiful.
Yep. So thank you, Trainer Jay. Thank you for that. And if you guys are interested in Ingress, go search for Ingress Podcast and you'll find one hosted by Trainer Jay. So that's 2 different podcast people that have contributed to our show today. So we really, really appreciate that. So let's go to something that we don't necessarily appreciate. We think is funny, but we don't necessarily.
I've been working on the Wayfarer all the long day. I've been working on the Wayfarer just to pass the... Uh-oh. Oh, no. Hey, Jamal, I found some coal.
All right. I was totally going to do this. And this is not the one I saw just recently. I was totally going to do this, and I saw... And I'll let Chris explain it. This goes to why people love his catchphrase. So I'm going to let you do this, Cole, Chris.
Oh, this one is the photo of a mural taken directly out the front windshield of someone's car. And like you can see almost the whole hood. And it looks like a nice mural.
Yeah.
Right. So had he stepped out of their car, this would be fine. Like it's a mural and it says the burr. I mean, it probably said like the burrow or something, and then some flowers on it. It's on the side of a building. Background's black. Looks like there's maybe like a spaceship in the back. I can't really tell. Here's the thing: if they're trying to nominate this mural, and it says the burrow, and the description is street art, like I can't see that because you're so far away. And there's
you took it from the car and you took it right in the middle of a light pole.
Right in the middle of a light pole that it's terrible. Like,
Can I jump in here for a second? Can I jump in here for a second? It looks to be in like a parking lot. So it's not that far. If you were to get out of your car, you could get a much better photo. I just had to say that. Sorry, go ahead. Continue.
Right. Like it's so bad. Like it is, and this is what frustrates me about this is a slam dunk nomination. Like this would go through with zero thoughts because that you can see on Street View that this is the mural itself isn't on Street View. But you can tell from the Street View that the wall in front of it and the building behind it that's where that mural is. That gets slammed up. This would go through without thought.
I think we have we have the second page. We have the second page, right?
Oh yeah. Like you can tell that building is right where that is, right? So it's just come on, man. Like get out of here. So bad. Like it's one thing if you roll down your window and you take a shot and you don't notice that the corner of your car is in the picture. Right, I'm almost willing to forgive that a little bit. I'm going to reject it every day, but I'm almost willing to forgive that because we had this discussion on the Discord with someone. Someone's like, I posted a Cole that had the finger in the bottom of the picture, and they were like, "Oh, it's sometimes in the app when you take the picture, it crops it weird." And I'm like, you know what? That's a really good point. It doesn't show the whole picture when you pick it in Pokemon Go or Ingress. Right, whereas it shows the whole picture when you're doing your reviews. So sometimes you can kind of miss it if it's right at the bottom. But this is just 60% of this picture is just other things other than the mural. Like 25% is this guy's hood. You can't miss that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's so late. It's like, are you really trying to nominate this? Or are you like, what are you doing here? Like what's your goal? Like,
yeah.
That frustrates me too when people say, "Oh, I live in this rural area and I don't have anything to nominate," and then you mess up a perfectly good nomination. So, perfectly good nomination. All right, hey man, you got anything else?
I do not.
All right. Well, I will go ahead and close us out. So I want to tell everybody out there, thank you very much for listening and watching this episode of the Wayspotters podcast. And we could not have an episode without our executive producer, KatettheKonz. You rock. And we love all of our patrons as well. And a special shout out to our show historian, Maddie G, for the assistance. And now that we have an official show historian, we may have more flashback clips as we say things, both good and bad, that we need to be called out on. Mainly for me, it's probably more, that's not what you said 8 episodes ago. You might, okay, so we'll do that. So, but thank you for listening to this episode of the Wayspotters podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, there are a few ways that you can show us. So first, what you can do is you can follow us on our socials. So we are on X. We are on X at Wayspotters. We are also on Instagram at Wayspotters Podcast, and we are on TikTok at I Make Wayspots. We try to be incredibly responsive and respond when people tag us, and we love interacting with our viewers and our listeners. Secondarily, you can go to our website. Yes, we have a website. It's www.wayspotters.com. From there, you can get links to everywhere you can download the show. You can also send us a message directly from the website, and you can send us an email like Mark did with his Coals of the Week and Wayspots of the Week. And the email address is wayspotters@pokemonprofessor.com. Now, as Chris said, we are back on YouTube. So if you are watching this on YouTube, God bless you. But for those of you who are not watching us on YouTube, you can go to www.youtube.com/@Wayspotters Podcast. Now, Chris, what should they do while they're there?
Like the video, click subscribe, and also click the bell to be notified whenever we post a new video.
Right. Now, if you are inclined to leave us a voicemail like Sarah Amanda did, you can call our hotline, 704-426-3710. You never know. Your voicemail may appear on an upcoming episode of the show, or you can tweet us a voicemail directly from Twitter. Yes. I don't know. I tweet Z. What is it called? What? Can I just say tweet?
I don't even know what they're calling it now. I'm just going to keep calling it tweet.
Tweet. Yeah. Tweet on X. All right. Finally, if you're not a member of the Pokemon Professor Network Patreon, you can join for as little as $1 US a month. All you need to do is go to patreon.com/Pokemon Professor. You will have access to the Discord for the entire family of shows across the Pokemon Professor Network, including Wayspotters, Special Conditions, Gotta Watch Them All, Purified Podcast, Good Morning Johto, Sleep It Off, After Darkrai, and Lord Up. It's a fantastic place with fantastic people. Did I get all of our shows?
You got it.
I got them all. Awesome. So last thing, if you can do me a favor, on the podcatcher that you're listening to us now, if you could go in and give us a rating, 5 stars are the best stars to me, and it really helps out the show. But we want you guys to give us what you think that we earned. So if you want to be a superstar, you can write us a review on a podcatcher that will allow you to do so. If you do that, I promise one of us will read it on an upcoming episode of the show. So with that, we want to thank everybody for listening to episode number 143. And I'm going to say this really, really loud for everybody in the back. What's a few meters between friends?